The 18 Strong Podcast, episode number 76.
Welcome to the 18 Strong Podcast, where you get direct access to the world's greatest experts on training harder, practicing smarter, and playing better golf. Now, here's your host, Jeff Pellizzero.
Hey, what's up? Welcome back to the 18 Strong Podcast. This is Jeff Pellizzero, your host. Got to thank you for joining me this week. We've got kind of a special episode. Today, I want to recap what was a fantastic weekend that we had a couple weekends ago. As most of you know, the PGA Show is held in Orlando every year at the Orange County National Convention Center. And we, meaning myself, my cousin Ryan McMullen, and his brother Tim McMullen, both my cousins, and the heart of 18 Strong. It's basically the three of us. Ryan and I are co-founders of 18 Strong. Timmy has jumped on and helped us out with some social media stuff. And so this was kind of our first rendezvous as the 18 Strong unit, and we got to go down to Orlando to the PGA Show. And what was really cool is I got to introduce Ryan and Tim to so many of the great people that I have met via the podcast and have made connections with. And then I got to meet a lot of people that I had never shaken their hand, looked them in the eye. You know, we've talked, we've messaged on Facebook. There's so many connections that have been made through this whole platform. But this was the first time that I got to see and meet a lot of people. So for this episode, I wanted to just kind of recap our trip a little bit, tell you about some of the cool things that we saw while we were down there, some of the people that we've met. I am going to warn you, there's probably going to be a little bit of name dropping of just some of the guests that we've had on the show that we got to meet. But I just thought it'd be kind of cool for you to get a little bit of a glimpse of, you know, what our trip was like, what the show was like, because from talking to a lot of golfers, I know that if you haven't been there, you probably at some point want to go to the PGA Show, and I highly recommend going. It's a spectacle, it's a fantastic opportunity, and it's kind of crazy to see what's going on in the world of golf, how big it is, how much money is spent on this industry, and just all the new things that are out there. Some of them, you know, very intriguing, some of them a little questionable. So there's so much out there in the golf world that, you know, I just wanted to kind of share what we saw and the experiences that we had. It wasn't until about a month before the show that we even really decided that we were going down there. And, you know, just, again, the main objective of the trip was to go and meet people. Didn't really have a real objective of, you know, seeing a lot of different equipment and testing clubs or anything like that, which, you know, was kind of overwhelming how much was there as far as equipment and, you know, the different club companies, manufacturers. So we didn't really go down there with that mentality. We went down to really kind of see more of the fitness side, which I'll tell you a little bit more about, but also just, you know, connect with the people on the show that we've had, and then make some new connections so we could have some fantastic guests that hopefully will be coming on the show in the next several weeks and throughout the rest of the year for 2016. And in that respect, I think it was definitely a very worthwhile trip. Now, if you're not very familiar with what the PGA Show is, it's basically anything under the sun in the world of golf that wants to be sold, wants to get in front of the market of not just golfers, but especially the PGA professionals, the guys that are teaching and instructing and working the clubs. So if there, you know, it's a lot of clothing lines for club professionals to go and look at to then, you know, sell their line of clothing at the pro shop of their country club. It's anything that you can think of, from, you know, the things that stack the balls in pyramids on the driving range, to the clock towers that they put at the edge of the driving range, to golf simulators. So there's pretty much anything under the sun. When we walked in, I have to say that I was super overwhelmed. So the space is, I looked it up, it's over 2 million square feet of exhibit space. Now, I don't think that all of that was used. I know Orange County Convention Center has over 2 million square feet of exhibit space. I know that they said the show at one point was bigger than it was this year. So I know they have more space, but there were over 1,000 vendors at this thing. So when we first, let me recap. When we first got into Orlando the Wednesday evening, didn't get in till probably 7:30 or so. And Tim came. Tim lives in Florida. Tim came and picked us up at the airport, and then we went, checked into our hotel, and then decided, hey, let's go, grab a bite to eat. Figured it'd be a pretty low-key night. We'll go have a couple drinks, kind of talk about our weekend, what we're going to do, and who we want to see, what exhibits we want to go to. And ended up not being the slow, quiet night that we anticipated. So you have to understand that much of the show is people going to meet other people that they know in the industry. And so we were at a grill, I think it was called the Brick House, and we were there having dinner, and we noticed a couple people that we recognized, Alexa Dvorak, Alex Weber from Golf MDs, and went over, said hi, kind of introduced ourselves, basically Facebook friends that we've connected, and went and introduced myself and got talking to them, and then it just kind of opened up a whole world of being introduced to new people, and it turned out that there was a whole meetup going on with a lot of people from the show. So it ended up being a very fun evening where we got to meet a ton of people, and then we moved from the Brick House over to the Hyatt, which had kind of an after-hours party, and got to sit and talk with Ben Shear for a long time about some great stuff fitness-wise, and just kind of talking about his career. Ben has been a guest on the show. If you don't know who Ben is, he's one of, if not the most successful golf fitness professional that's out there. Works with Luke Donald, I think Webb Simpson, several guys, but owns Golf and Body NYC, and has several different locations, the Athlete's Edge, and is the top golf fitness trainer around. So it was awesome to talk to him and just kind of pick his brain a little bit. Then we also ran into the president, or now former president of the USGA, Tom O'Toole, who's a guy from St. Louis who I know a little bit. Got to talk to him for a brief moment, and Kurt Rowe, who was there with Tom. Kurt is one of the officials and heads up the Metro here in St. Louis, and got to talk to them for a little bit. And so it was just really cool to be in this setting and see a lot of these people that I know of and had not been introduced to up until that point. And so we had a great night. Didn't end up being the nice, quiet night that we expected. Went a little longer and later than we anticipated. But all in all, we had a fantastic time. So the next morning we got up, and it was time to go to the show. Got up, went to breakfast, and walking into the convention center, as I mentioned, this place was just overwhelmingly huge. And we kind of walked across this big catwalk that was on the second story, and we were overlooking the whole show. And there was glass on both sides of us, so you could see basically as far as the eye could see down to the right side, and you turn, and as far as the eye could see down to the left side. So once we finally got our media passes and walked in, it was just kind of a free-for-all. And there were so many apparel companies, club fitting companies, like I said, anything that you can imagine. So what we did was we kind of slowly weaved our way through the different booths and exhibits and made our way down towards the fitness center, or the fitness area, where they had the Fit to Win stage, which was basically a big stage that was, I believe, sponsored by TPI. And all week long they had different presenters: Jason Glass, Lance Gill, Brett McCabe, Catherine Roberts, Trillian Rose, all kinds of wonderful people talking about so many different areas of fitness, mental game, and all these different pieces that come into high performance golf. But then surrounding that was the basically all the fitness related booths and vendors. So you had our buddies over at Rad Roller, Nick and Curtis, and then they had the Life Fitness booth that had Jason Lindsay, and they had a whole breakdown of equipment over there where Jason was kind of showing people the entire universal stuff that Life Fitness has. And then a lot of different vendors, Super Speed Golf. We talked to the guys from Swing Oil. If you've heard of Swing Oil, it's basically kind of an electrolyte drink that Jason Day is a part of, and talked to them for a little bit. Anything that you can think of that had anything to do with fitness, swing speed, physical assessment. There were a lot of technology and like mental pieces that I'll talk about in a little bit as well. But it was really neat to see the presence that the fitness portion had at the PGA Show and just talking to different professionals, it sounds like it has slowly gotten bigger and bigger and bigger every year, and now to the point where they had a stage that I would say it had probably maybe 100 seats in front of it, and every time I walked by when there was a presenter, the seats were pretty much packed, which was really neat to see. And then TPI was there, very well represented. Greg Rose and Dave Phillips were both there answering people's questions and, really just representing the world of quote-unquote golf fitness, which was really cool to see. So we kind of ended up making the fitness area, the Fit to Win stage, kind of a home base that we kept bouncing back to. And we're very good friends with Nick Mueller and Curtis Christofferson from Rad Roller and Innovative Fitness. So we would go by and make sure that those guys were doing okay. I have to say that being a vendor must be an exhausting thing. I mean, you're there from start to finish, 8 to 5 every day, talking to so many different people. So every now and then we'd go by, kind of chat with the guys. We'd go talk to Lance Gill, who Lance was there the entire time representing TPI, and chatting with some different people. And it was there that so many different connections were made, and one person would introduce somebody to somebody else. And so it's just really neat to see the tight-knit community that I attribute a lot of this to TPI because they have brought so many of us together that are in this golf fitness world, and then branching out into working with all the different PGA professionals and guys that were also there kind of walking around. And so the collaboration amongst professionals, I have to say, was top-notch, which is what we really try to preach here at 18 Strong, having the team, having the communication between all of the different professionals, whether that be medical, whether that be fitness, whether that be the teaching instructor. So as I mentioned, we didn't go and test out that many things. So I just want to give you a little highlight of some of the companies that we did go talk to, some of the people that treated us really well, and things that we tried out. So we definitely went over and, as I mentioned, went to the Rad Roller booth and messed around with the different Rad Roller equipment, which I have at the gym, and I love the stuff. We have since, kind of become partners with Rad Roller, working with them a little bit on, just utilizing the stuff and hoping to promote their brand because we really believe in the products that they have as far as myofascial work and soft tissue massage and things like that. So went over there and supported those guys and hung out with them for a little while. And then we just decided to kind of stroll around and see where things took us. And we ended up going and looking at some different clothing lines. And interestingly enough, we ran into a gentleman the night before who works with this company, House of Gray. And House of Gray, interesting story, is one of, from what I understand, there were 2 Travises that started Travis Matthews. House of Gray has since been started by one of the Travises. So we went and looked at their clothing line. Really, really cool stuff. If you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend checking that out. Just kind of really fits with our style, and so we were just kind of intrigued with that. There were so many different apparel companies that you could have gone crazy looking at all the different stuff, but went and checked out their stuff. And then, oddly enough, we went over and checked out the Travis Matthews stuff. We had some mutual friends with Travis Matthews guys, so we got to go into their spread, which we'll have some pictures of kind of our entire weekend on the show notes page, but you can see the inside of the Travis Matthews area. I can't call it a booth because it was, sandwiched in between 2 top-notch RVs. They had skee ball, they had Pop-A-Shot, and they just had then all their clothing kind of scattered around. So kind of almost like a VIP party inside the PGA Show, which was very cool to get inside and see. And then we met with, funny enough, the Project and 2 Under guys, which is the same company. Project is kind of the golf bags, travel bags, and 2 Under is the underwear company that highlights the Joey pouch. I'll let you look up 2 Under and what the Joey pouch is, but I'm going to say that these may be life-changing undies for any of you that are, first of all, still stuck in the tighty-whitey phase or wearing cotton undies at this point. It's time to check out something new. And 2 Under was kind of as Ryan and Tim and I would say, a life-changing experience. They were nice enough to give us a couple pairs, and we sported them the next day. And we'll just leave it at that. We don't need to delve into that too much on the podcast here. All right, then another brand that we had to check out. We didn't get to test it out, but we had to check it out, was the golf boards. The surfboard-looking golf carts, which I just think looks like it would be a blast. We talked to the gentleman there for quite a while. It sounds like things are going pretty incredible for golf boards, especially after I think it was Rory, Ricky, and Jordan, and maybe Henrik Stenson in Dubai riding around on their golf boards. And so it sounds like things have been very good for that company. But would love to see a few golf boards here in St. Louis. If there's anybody out there in the golf board world or that has them here in St. Louis, let me know, because I definitely want to go try those out. They looked like fun. They had some demo areas, but we didn't get to venture over to that area when they were doing the demos. So I would definitely like to check out a golf board in the near future. So after we kind of concluded, walking around and checking out a bunch of different things on Thursday, like I said, so many different things to look at and see that, we had to kind of maneuver pretty quickly. We were really trying to hustle back and forth, just chatting back and forth on instant messenger, Facebook Messenger, Twitter, and text message, trying to meet a bunch of different people and find out where they were. So we really kind of flew past a lot of different booths, the Golf Channel stuff, all that. So Thursday night, we kind of just chilled out a little bit, went out to dinner, met up with a good buddy of ours, Brian Lean from Old Warson, which is one of the top clubs here in St. Louis. And then Friday was another day of just kind of meeting a lot of different people. And we spent some time. I went and tested out the Focus Band, which soon in the next few weeks we will have a guest on the show, Sam Goulden, hopefully. We're going to talk a little bit more in depth about the Focus Band. But if you don't know what it is, it's basically a device that kind of reads the electrical brain waves that you have going on while you're wearing this band. And it gives you basically instant feedback, visual feedback via their app, where you can kind of see how well you're concentrating when you're hitting a golf shot, when you're just sitting there thinking, whatever. So very, very intriguing piece of equipment that I know a lot of professionals are using. Jason Day, Justin Rose, and a lot of the golf instructors are starting to get into utilizing this as far as helping guys really focus and prepare and know how to basically quiet down everything, shut out the noise when you're on the course, when you're on the tee box, where you can just kind of really focus in on your ball, focus in on your target, and those are the only things that you really see, hear, or are paying attention to. So we're going to bring Sam on in the next couple of weeks, hopefully, to really jump into the Focus Band. And then we, went. At one point we were tired of walking around. We went to the driving range. They've got a full-blown driving range at the one end of the PGA Show. You could probably hit a ball, I'm guessing maybe 100, 120 yards, but any kind of equipment that you wanted to hit. So went and messed around there just because we were tired of walking around and felt like we needed to bang a few balls. So we did that, checked out a lot of different shoes. FootJoy had a huge spread. Puma had a huge spread. Callaway, Titleist, everybody. They told us that for a 10x10 square booth, it costs over $10,000 just to have a 10x10 booth, which I don't even know how much Titleist and those guys spent just on the space alone. But then constructing these things is most likely in the millions of dollars. So the amount of money that is spent just on this show, constructing the areas, the space itself, running electric, water, all that is just incredible. So there's a lot of money going around in this industry of golf, and it's pretty cool to see how excited everybody is, and it just had a very, very good vibe at the show. I don't know. This is the first time, like I said, I haven't been to the show before. I don't know what it's been like in the past, but it was a very uplifting event in my eyes. So once everything kind of wrapped up on Friday afternoon, it kind of closed down early, closed down at 3 o'clock, and literally at 3 o'clock, there are crews ripping up the carpet, shutting down booths, tearing things down. So we scooted over to a little restaurant across the street. I think it was called BJ's Brew House and decided, we hadn't eaten lunch. We were going to go just grab a quick little bite to eat. We knew we were going to have some dinner later on with some folks. So we went across the street, and what transpired after that was really one of the highlights of the trip. We were sitting there on the outdoor patio. It was a beautiful day, and Sam Goulden, who I just mentioned, who's going to come on and talk about the Focus Band, he was walking down the street, and I know Sam from St. Louis from years ago. Our paths crossed. We did a little work together. Great guy. And so I was like, hey, Sam, come on in. If you guys are going to grab a bite to eat, come join us. And he was with two gentlemen that we hadn't met yet, and so they sit down and we're chatting, and it turns out that it is Henry Bolton and his dad Graham, and these are the guys that invented the Focus Band. And so we sat for a couple hours just chatting with them. Then another buddy, a guest of the podcast, Nick Shertock, came and joined us. So we just all kind of sat around chatting about, what's going on with Focus Band and their company, and then, their experience working with Jason Day and, working with him when he went from where he was, I think 3 years ago, to the point where he became number one in the world. And, some of that he attributes to the work that he did with Focus Band. And so it was just really cool to hear those stories and sit and chat with these gentlemen. And then slowly but surely, a couple other people came wandering in. Nick and Curtis from Rad Roller, Kyle Shea from Super Speed Golf, and we just started hanging out. And then that evening, we ended up meandering over to another place where we met up with some of the guys from TPI, Lance Gill, Jason Glass, and that's where I really met Sean Hutchison, who was a guest from a couple shows ago with Ecos. And, so Sean and I started talking that evening. So, again, I know I said that I was going to be dropping a lot of names this episode, and I apologize for that. But what was so cool about going down there was just fostering these relationships. So if you have a chance, if you're a fitness professional, if you're a golf instructor, and you're listening to this show, I highly recommend that you go to this event, or you go to some of these events, a TPI event or something like that, where you can actually shake hands with people. You can actually get to know them, because it has made a world of difference for myself, for 18 Strong, and then getting these folks to meet Ryan and Tim. It was just such a great experience for all of us, and it just really solidified what we're doing here and the fact that we love doing this. Ryan and Tim and I are just having a blast. We're all guys that have regular full-time jobs. Myself as a golf fitness professional, so I'm in this world, but Ryan's in small business marketing. Timmy is in the sales world. And, so to bring these guys in and for us to do this, first of all, just as cousins, as good buddies ever since we were little kids, it's just really cool. So I want to thank you guys for supporting 18 Strong, for listening to the show. And I know that this episode is way different than any other that I've done, but I just want to give you a glimpse into, some of the fun that we're having with this as well. And then just to give a few of my takeaways from the PGA Show, I think going down there gives you a good glimpse of where where golf is as an industry, what the state of it is, the energy level. I mentioned that it was just a really good event. It just felt great. People were excited to be there. And the focuses that I see for the year 2016, the main things that I took notice of there were a lot of the technology companies. There's so much technology that's coming out and coming out so quickly, and it's so impressive that I think that that's obviously where we're going to see some of the biggest changes. And by technology, I mean like the computers, not necessarily like equipment technology, like drivers changing and shafts and things like that, but I'm talking like technology like apps and different pieces of software that are giving you readouts on different things, like the foot pressures or the mental game stuff. That's another thing that I really saw is such an acceptance, and we talked about this in the episode with Sean Hutchison with Ecos. Such an acceptance of golf professionals and fitness people of this whole mind-body connection, and so the mental game and how important that is. It seems like there's almost a swing of, there's always going to be technical stuff in golf. There's always going to be a technical side, and that's very, very important. And I do think that is. But I think a lot of the people at the highest of levels are starting to educate the masses on the importance of some of the mental pieces, and then the technology combined with that, I think, is going to be amazing. So the things like Focus Band and Ecos, where you're really tapping into how well you're concentrating and how well you're preparing yourself to get in that flow state and perform at your highest of level that way, as opposed to being so technically aware of what's going on in your swing and looking at positions and those things, but looking more at the mental side and how we're getting smarter at learning how to practice in those ways and how that's then affecting our body. And I saw firsthand, this is not from the show, but just last night, I actually went to a great event here in St. Louis. You're gonna be seeing a lot of cool things coming out of St. Louis in the golf world. I went to an event where two companies that are originally actually from Canada are going to be moving to St. Louis. And I had the opportunity to spend a little bit of time with the founders of both of these companies, one of which is BodyTrack, and which is the foot pressure sensors, the mat that you're seeing a lot of the tour players use. I've seen on a lot of commercials. They just worked out a big thing with FootJoy that they launched at the show, where it's utilizing the foot pressures of the mat, what's going on in your weight shift and where your pressures are during your swing and when you're doing different things. And then they have tied up with FootJoy to then help you figure out what shoe is the right shoe for you. So a lot of very interesting stuff that's going to be coming out from BodyTrack. So keep your eye on them. And then another company, which is Winning Identity, which is there's so many pieces of this company that it's hard to explain, but kind of a scheduling software for golf fitness professionals, golf pros. It also ties into club fitting, and there's just so many different things. But keep your eye out for BodyTrack and Winning Identity, and for St. Louis, which I'm so excited about, to have these kind of guys coming to St. Louis and the groups that are bringing them here. It's just so cool to see this growth happening here in my hometown. But kind of back to the show, the focus that I saw, again, technology, mental game pieces, and those two really kind of tying together. And then it was awesome to see the fitness side having such a huge presence and having so many well-respected professionals that were part of this event, presenting, having booths, people in the area of this, all the booths around the fitness area, guys like Martin Chuck, which was awesome to meet Martin. Great guy. Loved him on the podcast. Just a lot of these different people that are really representing the combination of practicing golf and practicing smarter, but then also working on the physical part of it. Not just, working on your ability to hit a ball farther, but preaching the fact that you becoming healthier, you becoming stronger, you treating your body better, and learning what are the issues that you have and fixing and correcting some of those things. It was just great to see all of this kind of tying together, which, again, I have to give a lot of credit to TPI for fostering that relationship. So bottom line for the PGA Show of 2016, I think for 18 Strong it was a huge success. I want to thank all of you for supporting us. We wouldn't have gone down there had this show not gone on so long. We're on our 76th episode, I believe. And, it's been a blast this entire time. And I expect hundreds of more episodes and a lot bigger things to come from 18 Strong. So go over to 18strong.com and check out episode number 76 and take a peek. I'm going to put as many pictures on there as I can. I'll throw the captions on there so you can get a glimpse of, the people we met, some of the folks from the show that we've had on that we got to see. We gave out some T-shirts, as one of my good buddies said. Dude, you were like the guy with the T-shirt gun. Everybody's wearing these 18 Strong shirts, which I will say our online shopping cart is being set up right now. So very soon, the signature 18 Strong T-shirt, the gray shirt, black lettering, which has been seen by some very well-known PGA professionals and the top people in the golf fitness world, those shirts will be available very, very soon for you to get your hands on. So I'll let you know when that happens. It should be within the next week or so. But go check out the pictures. Had a blast. Can't thank you guys enough. I will see you next week. I've actually got several interviews lined up for this coming week that are going to be phenomenal. So can't wait to share them with you. And one last quick plug. If you are not subscribed to the 18 Strong podcast on iTunes, please head over there, subscribe, let us know, give us a review, give us a rating. Every little bit helps to grow the 18 Strong podcast. We've continued to rise up in the ranks and get more downloads every month, but every little bit helps. And as I mentioned, you are the reason why we're doing this. So don't let an episode slip through your iTunes crack, and go over and subscribe to the show. So thanks again. Train hard, practice smart, play better golf.
Thanks for listening to the 18 Strong podcast at www.18strong.com. And remember, train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.